The unique thing about Bitcoin is there's no amount, and this is only unique to Bitcoin in regards to monetary assets. Gold doesn't have this, oil doesn't have this, stocks don't have this. More demand cannot find more supply. For something like gold, if there's enough demand for gold, it will be economical for miners to spin up new mines and find more in the ground. If there's enough demand for oil, it'll be economical for people to spin up new drills and find more oil in the ground. If there's enough demand for bonds, if there's enough demand for Tesla stock, let's take strategy stock, for example. If there's enough demand for MSTR, Saylor will print that. Let's take your own life. If there's enough demand for McDonald's cheeseburgers, McDonald's will make more. If there's enough demand for vodka sodas, the bartender will pour you another. If there's enough demand for housing, they will build you another one. Ken Griffin said, you know what? I like this building in New York, but I want a floor on top of the highest floor. And they said, Mr. Griffin, we can't do that. That would ruin the existing penthouse owner. Yeah, but I'll pay you $250 million for it. Oh, you got yourself a deal. With enough demand, you find supply. The only thing I know of where that's not true is Bitcoin. It doesn't matter who you are, what you are, where you are. No amount of demand can create more Bitcoins. Period. So, where does the supply come from when there's more demand? Guys, it comes from a higher price, okay? Demand always finds supply. And if it can't find it in the ground, if it can't find it in a factory, if it can't find it behind the bar, if it can't find it in a penthouse, it finds it in the market at a higher price. Meaning this, all of a sudden, when Scott Bessent said, yeah, sorry, you guys were all right. It is a sovereign debt crisis. We're going to start printing money to lend to ourselves. Buckle up. We're growing our way out of this thing. And everyone said, shh, I need some Bitcoin. We couldn't make any more in a factory. We couldn't make any more out of the ground. We couldn't get any behind the bar, in the basement. There wasn't any in an oil rig. So the market says this, how many are available at 60,000? And they're asking all of us, all of you listeners that have Bitcoin, how many of you guys grabbed your coins from cold storage and threw them on an exchange because Bitcoin hit 60,000? And they say, well, there's not enough there. How about at 61,000? How about at 62, 63, 64, 65? And when I say prices are set at the margin, that's all I mean, because one buyer can drive the price from 60,000 to 80,000. How? Because none of us are willing to sell. And it doesn't, no one can go mine more. No one can go make more. No one can go print more. It's got to come from us. And eventually what you see in these Bitcoin adoption cycles where the price goes up, 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 it's entering what we call price discovery, where it's basically the market saying, we want more Bitcoins. What price is it going to take for you guys to go into cold storage, deposit it on an exchange, and give it to us? And eventually, it finds some equilibrium. Like, let me tell you guys, when I got into Bitcoin, the price was under $100. Then I watched the price go to $1,200. And then Mt. Gox and Silk Road and all of that. And the price went from $1,200 all the way to like $250, a little lower. And so the price was going up from $50 to $100, $200, $300, $400. Like, at what price is someone going to say, fine, I'll take a new car. I'll take a new house. I'll pay off my old debt. I'll put my kid through college. Fine. I'll sell you some Bitcoins at $1,200. And then that's the part in the market where you saw more sellers than buyers. And then the price falls to $250. And then it goes from $250 to $20,000. And during that run, it's like demand, 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 demand. Largely, Bitcoin is priced on expectations of new fiat currency. There's more units of fiat that are competing for a fixed amount of Bitcoins. Every single time these guys print money, Bitcoin goes on a run. Okay, goes from $250. What price is it going to take for you guys to go put Bitcoin on exchange and meet the demand? Supply meeting demand. Is it $250, $500, $1,000, $5,000, $10,000? It took Bitcoin to get to 20,000. Okay. Then I watched Bitcoin fall to 3,000, then 3,000 to 69,000. Then it fell to whatever, 17,000, 17,000 to 126,000. Now down to 60,000. We're doing it again. It's okay. They're about to print a bunch of money. Everyone wants Bitcoin. What price is it going to take for the market to give enough supply to meet the demand? Well, it wasn't 61,000. It wasn't 65,000. It wasn't 70,000. Right? So look at this. $2 billion of flows from the ETFs last week. Their best week since October 2025. That's a lot of demand. People are like, I don't want to own bonds anymore. I don't even know in this era of money printing, I don't even know how much gold I want to own compared to this Bitcoin thing. You're telling me that you can't mine anymore? Elon can't go, what did Elon say? He's going to get a bunch of gold out of an asteroid in space? There's no Bitcoin in space, brother. It's it. If you want more Bitcoins, you're going to have to pry it out of my cold, dead hands. That's why the price is going up, because I'm not selling. That's why. Because you got a bunch of guys, and let me tell you something, because there's a lot of egomaniacs out there that think they're the Bitcoin market. They set the price. Bitcoin wouldn't be shit without them. Guess who sets the price? You and I listening to this. We do, because we earn more than we spend. So we're not levered. We're not in debt. We don't have to sell for shit. You guys can drive the price as high as you want. And there's no price that's going to get rid of all my Bitcoins. I'm going to die with these Bitcoins. And you can't mine any out of the ground. You can't get any out of space. Tough luck. You can't tell Donald Trump and Scott Bessent and the U.S. military to get you more Bitcoins. Tough luck. So I love this. I love explaining this because it's like, oh, duh. So Bitcoin doesn't need trillions of more dollars plowed into the market for it to gain trillions in market cap. The trillions in market cap go from marginal amount of demand, but there's no supply. Oh, you want 10 Bitcoins? You might have to push the price up to 100K to get 10 Bitcoins. Now, I'm exaggerating, but not by a lot. Right? So I'll tell you guys this. If Bitcoin hits 250K, 500K, $1 million, I will start asking, like, wait, so how much are the Chicago Bulls? Yeah, why not? I mean, it's not going to be my whole stack, but the Chicago Bulls, but everybody's got something. And this is really, to me, this is really the world evening out. Because you've got all these people with all these legacy assets, like all the young folks, like my generation, they can't afford a house. They can't afford to put themselves through school. They can't afford their debt. They can't afford their credit card, but they've got Bitcoins. We've been staying humble. We've been stacking sats. And then eventually we swap some of our sats for a house to pay off that debt. And it's a way of the world evening things out a little bit. Like, okay, all these people were born into asset inflation and they get their Social Security and stuff, but they're going to have to wire me 500 grand for one Bitcoin. Okay, call it even. You know? But anyway, this is what monetization is. This is what it looks like. This is what adoption looks like. When I say Bitcoin is technology plus fiat liquidity, the fiat liquidity piece is right now, everyone's scrambling to get their hands on something that the government can't print. And that's why Bitcoin went up 25%. Why did Bitcoin outperform gold so much? Well, guys, it's pretty simple. There was a lot of demand and not enough supply. And clearly, the price didn't get high enough for all of us to go into cold storage and dig it out. Now did it? How high is this thing going to go? And every single cycle strengthens Bitcoin because you're getting weak hands, get rid of it, and strong hands. So think about all the people that are kicking themselves like, damn, I bought the top at 126. They're not selling. There are long-termers now. This asset's been in existence for over 15 years. This asset class is made of long-term hodlers. So another thing I want to mention. Strike tweeted this. I actually made this asset myself. Bitcoin's performance on average comes from 10 days a year. Meaning this. Bitcoin, the stay humble, stack sats, and hodl, meaning you just own it for 365 days a year, on average since 2014, it's 157% returns. If you just owned Bitcoin, it's 10 best days a year. So you only own Bitcoin 10 days a year, but it was the 10 days where it had its best performance, 162% a year. So you marginally outperformed just holding it every day. Now, if you own Bitcoin 355 days a year and you don't own it the 10 best days, so you own it every day except its 10 best days a year, negative 14% a year. So Bitcoin's performance comes from these moments, guys, these repricings like this, a snap, a blink. And this is why I can't stress enough to stay humble, stack sats, and hodl. Guys, you're not going to be able to guess the 10 days a year every year. This is the humble part. Bitcoin's humility money. You're not smarter than the market. You're not smarter than your neighbor. Just work hard, be kind, be patient, stay humble, stack sats, hodl. That's it. You can own Bitcoin 355 days out of the 365 days in a year and lose 14% a year. This is what I'm saying. And I know the bear market's hurt and I know the volatility's hard. That's the price of admission. That's the price that you pay. I'm telling you. You don't have to listen to me, obviously. You do whatever you want. Just take it from someone who's been around the block once or twice.